Hello and welcome. If you're new here, my name is Sharifa and you're welcome to stay. So, if you see me looking down here, it's because I have my notes here, so excuse me for that. In one of my most recent videos, I spoke about self sabotage, its causes, and how to stop it. And in this video, I want to talk about being intentional with yourself, essentially pouring love into yourself first so that you can even give more out to the world. Now, this video is going to be in four sections. There's going to be part one and part two. In part one, we are going to have two sections, and in part two, we're also going to have two sections. The reason why I did this is because I don't want the video to get way too long, so that we can have shorter videos and be able to consume and assimilate at the same time, instead of having a really long video and then you get tired of watching the same thing over and over, right? So I'm going to break it down into two videos, like I said, part one and part two. So let's start with part one. So before we go on, I want us to have a definition of self-intention. Excuse me if I'm reading because I don't have definitions in my head, okay? All right. So being intentional with yourself is about living with purpose, self-awareness, and a commitment to creating a life that reflects your values and aspirations. It's essentially, I like saying essential, it's an ongoing process of self discovery and growth. You will always discover a lot more about yourself. So, being intentional with yourself is an ongoing process. Now, why is being intentional with yourself crucial for personal growth, your well being, and overall happiness? Hi, I had to step out for a friend's day out and I'm back, so let's continue the video. It's because being intentional with yourself is a deliberate action. It is you deliberately connecting your thoughts, actions, and choices to what is important to you. It helps you know yourself so that you can live a more meaningful life. When you're intentional, you set clearer priorities, you make thoughtful decisions, and you practice self care. All of that will contribute to your well being. When you embrace who you are through self intention, when you learn from your challenges, growing continuously, all of these little things with regards to self intention leads to an overall happiness. It makes your life much better because there's intention in every little thing. You are intentional about the challenges that you are learning. You're intentional about your growth. You're intentional about embracing yourself for who you are. So that is why it is so important for us to be intentional with ourselves. So let's start with the first section of the video, and it is understanding yourself. Before we can be intentional with ourselves, make better choices, grow personally, and overall live in a way that is meaningful, we first have to understand who we are. Like I said in the beginning, self intention is an ongoing process. It's an ongoing process of self discovery and growth. So you never really truly know yourself. You just know yourself at different seasons and stages of your life. So you're going to find new parts of you, throw away old parts, and pick other new things. So it is always an ongoing process. Yeah. So now that we have that down, let us go into how can we actually understand ourselves. The first thing we need to do is self-reflection. We need to self-reflect. So self-reflection is a practice that allows you to think and analyze your actions, your thoughts, and experiences in a way that gives you a deeper understanding of yourself. So, throughout your life experiences, you need to ask yourself a couple of questions so that you can think deeper and analyze it so that you know what works and what doesn't work for you. For example, if you take any action, say someone spoke to you in a certain manner and you became angry, you ask yourself, and when you were angry, you said a couple of things that you probably didn't mean. You ask yourself, why did I do this? How did this make me feel? Is this the best choice that I could have gone for? Is this the right thing to do? Is this what I really truly wanted to do? And how do you self reflect? I mentioned you could ask yourself a couple of questions, but you just sit out and talk it out. Sometimes you can do you can self reflect through journaling, meditation, or simply just thinking it through. Like I just said in the beginning, ask yourself a couple of questions and then You think it through. After you self reflected, the second thing is to list your priorities. If everything is a priority, then nothing is a priority. You cannot have everything being important to you equally. So, what you have to do is you have to figure out the things that matter to you the most. So, in areas like your career, your relationships, and your personal growth, you can choose list out priorities in each category. I'm not saying that these are the only categories that you have to um, work with, but you could pick out any category that's important to you in your life. If relationships, you don't care about relationships, and by relationships, I mean family, friends, excuse me, family, friends, partners, acquaintanceship, anything, right? So if relationships, you don't have family, you don't have friends, and you don't want either, you can throw the whole relationship category out of the window. I'm just giving these three pointers in terms of listing priorities to serve as a guide. So you could pick any category and then list priorities in there. So I'm going to go with relationships first. So when it comes to relationships, you have to ask yourself which people are important to me and what kind of relationship do I want with what kind of relationship do I want with each individual. I'm coming, my leg is cramping. Like I said earlier, it could be family, it could be friends, it could be a partner. And you prioritize the time and the efforts that you invest into these people. So, for example, today I had a friend's day out. We planned to meet at a place and then enjoy ourselves and then spend time together. These are people that I want to invest my time and effort in. So, I would make time to meet them because meeting friends after 1.5 years of graduating is an extreme sport. So, to have people say that, yes, I'm willing to spend my holiday with these people, I think it's pretty cool. Okay, so on the topic of career, I think career deserves a whole video on its own. But the only thing I'm going to say is that if it's easy for you to figure out what kind of career that you want for your life, then go ahead, list out all the things that are important in that career, all the skills that you would need in that career, and then pick them one by one and learn them so that you can that is your investment for the career that the life that you want with your career, right? For some people, everything seems doable, everything seems interesting, and there's multiple things that you would want to do in life, and so you can't really put your hand on one. And for others, they are not interested in anything at all, and they are struggling to find at least even one career that they think they would want to do for the rest of their lives. If you're such a person, I think I need to do a whole video on that. So stay tuned. The last thing I want to point out when it comes to listing priorities is under the topic of personal growth. So when it comes to personal growth, I don't know. I learned a method which is called the funnel method, and I know it sounds gruesome, like it sounds crazy, like funnel method, but like essentially what you are doing here is attending your own funeral. So you are imagining your own funeral and how it would be like. There are multiple steps to it. There are steps where you'd envision the whole scene, the scenery, how it would look like, the people who would be there, all of that. But the important part is that you ask yourself, what are the things that you would want to achieve at the end of your life? So if you go to your funeral and, for example, there are people or family members or friends and or any all the relationships that you form throughout your life, if these people are there and, for example, they are supposed to have a speech about you at your funeral, what would you want them to say? For example, you'd want them to say that person A was a kind soul, she donated to multiple charities, or she had her own charity, or she was the one of the best engineers that I've ever seen in my life, or she was a great software engineer who did A and B and C, and when she had the time, she would go bowling, she would go surfing, she would go, you know. If you want them to call you a jack of all trades, then that is truly what you want in life, right? So the funnel method is a great method. I will probably do a whole video on that as well. I mean, every single topic that I'm saying, every single point that I mention in this video seems like a point that should have a video on its own. But for some reason, it's like I'm pushing everything into one video, and it feels like I have a limited time to talk about them. Yeah, that's why I even broke this video into two. Let's move on to the third point under understanding yourself in section 1, and it is mindful practices. So what do we mean by mindful practices? So mindful practices are like mental exercises that you do to help you focus on the present moment. There are people who have their minds, who have very wild minds, especially people with ADHD. You cannot pay attention to one thing for a very long time. Your mind wanders, and there are other people who can like look at 10 steps ahead, and for some reason they cannot seem to focus on the present moment. They are either thinking about the past or thinking way ahead into the future. So mindful practices are mental exercises that bring you into the present so that you can focus on whatever you have at hand. You can have mental practices like mindful walking, where you take a walk, but here you have to focus on every step you take, how your feet feels, how your body is moving, how your arm is moving, how you feel on the walk. That way it keeps you in the present. Another practice is breathing exercises. So you taking deep breaths in like that. It calms you down. It's a calming exercise that is, yeah, like the name suggests, supposed to help calm you down so that you can focus. Sometimes when you're thinking too much of, what if I don't finish this week? Breathe and stay in the moment. Focus in the present. So that is that for section 1. So let's head on to section 2. In section 1, we talked about understanding ourselves. And in section 2, we are talking about setting intentions. Now that you have a fair idea about what you like, what you do not like, and who you are, the kind of relationships you want, the kind of career you want, how do you want to grow personally? We want to now set intentions towards that growth, towards that career, towards that relationship. The first way of setting intentions is by setting goals, personal goals. And like I said, every point that I make in this video deserves its own video, but I'm going to say a few words under setting goals. So in section 1, after talking about self-reflection, we went to identifying priorities. So it's safe to assume that when you get to section 2, you've already identified the things that are a priority to you. So now we want to set goals that will be around these priorities, the things that are important to you. What we are going to do next is that we are going to set SMART goals. It has to be specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. For example, instead of a vague goal like I want to exercise more, you'd rather reframe it to be a SMART goal. And so you'd reframe it to be I want to walk for 30 minutes every day after work, right? It's specific. How? Because it's a walk. You specify the workout to be a walk, and it is after work. Next, it should be measurable. How do you measure that goal? You measure it by it being 30 minutes. So you know that every single day after 30 minutes, you've achieved a goal, a daily goal. And then it should be achievable. 30 minutes a day after work, 30 minutes a day of a walk seems very achievable to me. It should be relevant. And I think it's relevant to have your walks in, to have your steps in, to burn a lot of calories. It's a way to get your body moving so that you don't keep your body parts stiff, so it seems very relevant to me. And then for time bound, it is again 30 minutes. It's time bound. And I know here measuring it and being time bound sometimes can conflict, but let's say time bound, we would say it's a daily thing. But hey, you're not going to stop there, Habibi. You're not going to stop there. What you're going to do is you're going to set up systems to help you achieve those goals. What are systems? Systems are essentially organized and repeatable processes that you do to help you progress consistently. So they are more or less like routines, right? So you set up maybe anytime that I wake up, the first thing I need to do is lay my bed. As I lay my bed, I have to go straight to pick up my book that is laid next to my bed, that's laid on my bedside table so that I can journal. And then right after journaling, I know that I have to go pray. And I know I have to do this, I have to do that. So you set up a system in your life. They are more or less like routines, but it goes beyond the routine. It goes beyond just a morning routine. It goes beyond just an evening routine. It's like everything in one and your daily life, something like that. If you think that I haven't done justice to explaining systems, you could put it in the comment section and let us know. Thank you in advance. So now that you have set these goals, these smart goals, I will assume, these really smart goals, we want to create a vision board. And I know people will say, oh, vision boards are not for me. I don't want to be putting pictures out here. Nobody's saying that vision board should be aesthetic. It doesn't have to be aesthetic if you are not into aesthetics. I like aesthetics. I'm going to make them nice because it's good to look at. But a vision board is more of a pictorial version of your goals. It's a powerful way of visualizing your goals. So if I say that I want to buy a Lexus at the end of the year, right? Maybe my goal is not smart, but that's a goal. If I want to buy a Lexus by the end of the year, if putting a picture of the specific Lexus I want makes it visual, like this is the kind of Lexus I want, not this kind of Lexus. Do you know what I mean? So putting a picture up to show that this is the kind of abs I want, not this kind of abs, makes it even more deeper. For example, if I say that I want to journal 30 minutes every day before I pray, I have said I want to journal 30 minutes before I pray. That seems like a smart goal. However, in my vision board, I could put a physical book or a physical journal, or I could put a picture of a digital journal, right? Maybe I want to do it on an iPad. That's a whole different type of journaling than journaling in a book. That means I need to get an iPad so that I'll be able to journal in that sense. You get it? So a vision board gives you visual clarity. So now that we have our goals set and we've set systems as well to help us achieve our goals, and we've created a vision board to help us visually capture what we want to engage in daily affirmations as well. I did touch on the daily affirmations in my previous video, so I get to talk about it a lot more here, I guess. So daily affirmations are positive statements to reinforce a positive mindset. We want a positive mindset because the world has a lot of negative in it. You don't need to be telling yourself that as well. So we want to cultivate a habit of saying positive things to ourselves so that we can rewire the way that we think and towards the positive. And sometimes we underestimate how much of a negative outlook we have in life when we go like, oh, I don't think I can do this one. You think you're being realistic, but sometimes these are mindsets that we have that we don't even know that we have. They are subconsciously eating up our lives. So instead of walking through life with this negative outlook, we would want to take a chance. We would want to take action so that we can shift our mindset from a negative to the positive. I'm blessed and I'm highly favored. All things work for my good. Good things come my way. Money loves me. Money wants me. Money wants to come near me. I have a good heart. I'm beautiful. I know that God loves me. Oh, and I want to mention that whenever you're doing positive affirmations or daily affirmations, you don't want to bring in negative words. So for example, I am not worthless, because our mind is not wired to think of the negative, right? Not doesn't work in our mind. The moment you say I'm not worthless, the word worthless is what is going to be focused on the most. So say I'm worthy of good things. I'm worthy of love. Say the positive versions of things and not the constructed positives. I don't know what I mean, but you get what I mean. And doing all of these things can also boost your confidence, to be honest. It enhances your resilience and makes you optimistic, actually. So try it, and if it doesn't work, come and tell me that I'm lying. It's going to shift your mindset and how you think. Thank you so much for sitting through all the way to this point. I really hope that you start your journey of self-intention. So for a recap, we looked at the definition of self-intention. We looked at why it's important to be intentional with yourself. And for section 1, we looked at understanding yourself. And section 2, we looked at setting intentions. So now that you have gone through understanding yourself at this stage of your life and you've set some intentions for your life, we will look at taking action towards being intentional with yourself in section 3. And then in section 4, we will look at the challenges that may arise while you are being intentional with yourself, so that you know what to expect and how you can overcome them. Thank you so much for watching up to this point. And if you watched up to right now, comment a butterfly so that I know that you watched all the way till this point. Thank you and bye.